The silent storm, awakening to grief's unseen depths. Imagine a lighthouse standing solitary on a jagged cliff, its beam cutting through the relentless fog of a stormy sea. For years, it has guided ships safely to shore, its light a constant companion to the waves below. But one fateful night, a ferocious gale rips through, extinguishing the flame. The tower remains battered and hollow, its purpose seemingly lost in the darkness. Yet as dawn breaks, the first rays of sun pierce the horizon, revealing that the lighthouse itself is not destroyed, only transformed. It must now learn to stand not as a beacon for others, but as a sentinel of its own resilience, drawing strength from the very storms that sought to break it. This, my friend, is the essence of losing a spouse. It's not merely an ending, but a profound reconfiguration of your world. The empty chair at the dinner table, once filled with laughter and shared stories, becomes a stark reminder of absence. But in that void lies an invitation, not to fill it hastily, but to rebuild around it, to let the space breathe and evolve. Grief is not a thief that steals your joy forever. It is a sculptor, chiseling away the familiar to reveal a deeper, more enduring form of yourself. And yet, in the midst of this transformation, pitfalls lurk like hidden reefs beneath the waves, ready to snag the unwary traveler and slow the journey toward healing. In this voiceover, we embark on a cinematic odyssey through the heart of loss. We'll navigate the emotional tempests, the practical quagmires, and the spiritual awakenings that follow the death of a beloved partner. Drawing from the raw truths of those who've walked this path, we'll uncover 7 common pitfalls that can prolong your suffering, turning what could be a passage of growth into a labyrinth of stagnation. But fear not, this is no tale of despair. It's a roadmap illuminated by hope, empowering you to sidestep these traps and emerge with a renewed sense of purpose. For in honoring your grief, you honor the love that once was and pave the way for the love that still awaits, within yourself and beyond. Let us begin by confronting the reality of grief head-on. It's not the tidy stages we've read about in books: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, as if loss were a linear checklist to be ticked off. No, grief is a wild, unpredictable force, more like a spiral staircase winding through the chambers of your soul. One moment, you're ascending toward a glimpse of light. The next, you're plummeting back into shadows you thought you'd left behind. When a spouse departs this world, whether suddenly in a tragic accident or after a prolonged illness, the void they leave isn't just emotional. It's woven into the fabric of your daily existence. Picture this. You wake up in the morning, reaching instinctively for the warmth beside you, only to find cold sheets. The coffee pot brews for one, not two. Bills arrive addressed to both names, a cruel reminder of shared responsibilities now shouldered alone. The house echoes with silence where conversations once flowed. In our modern world, this isolation is amplified by the digital age. Social media feeds filled with couples' vacations and anniversary posts, making your solitude feel like a glaring spotlight. Friends and family, well-meaning but often awkward, tiptoe around you, unsure what to say, leaving you to navigate the storm in solitude. But here's the empowering truth. Grief is transformation incarnate. It's the cocoon from which a new version of you emerges, stronger and wiser. The sorrow you feel is the alchemy of love turned inward, teaching you to cherish the impermanence of life. It's in this crucible that resilience is forged. Think of it as a garden after a harsh winter. The soil, stripped bare, holds the potential for new growth. The key is to embrace this phase not as punishment, but as preparation. Yet many falter here, falling into pitfalls that delay this rebirth. Let's explore the first of these, the peril of isolation. Pitfall 1. Isolating yourself from the world. In the immediate aftermath of loss, retreating into your shell feels like the only sane response. The world outside seems too bright, too noisy, too indifferent to your pain. You cancel plans, ignore calls, let the voicemail fill up. I just need time, you tell yourself, curling up with memories like a blanket against the cold. And indeed, solitude has its place. It's where introspection blooms. But when isolation becomes a habit, it morphs into a trap, a self-imposed exile that starves your spirit of the nourishment it craves. Consider Sarah, a woman in her 50s whose husband passed after a battle with cancer. For months, she barricaded herself in their home, surrounded by his belongings, his favorite books dog-eared on the shelf, his coat still hanging by the door. Friends invited her to dinners, walks in the park, even a support group, but she declined, fearing that stepping out would mean betraying his memory. If I laugh with others, she thought, does that mean I've forgotten him? Days blurred into weeks, and soon the isolation fed a deeper loneliness, turning her grief into an echo chamber of despair. This is a common modern challenge, exacerbated by our increasingly virtual lives. With remote work and streaming services, it's easier than ever to withdraw without notice. But humans are wired for connection. Studies from psychologists like Julianne Holt-Lundstad show that social isolation can be as harmful to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It weakens your immune system, heightens anxiety, and deepens depression. In grief, this pitfall slows healing by denying you the mirrors others provide, reflections of your progress, validations of your pain, and gentle nudges toward normalcy. To avoid this, start small. Reach out to one trusted friend, perhaps with a simple text, "I'm struggling today. Can we talk?" Join an online forum for widows and widowers, where anonymity eases the entry. Or attend a grief support group, like those offered by organizations such as GriefShare, where stories shared become lifelines thrown across the abyss. Remember, connection isn't about forgetting, it's about carrying your love forward in community. As the lighthouse learns to draw light from the sun, so too can you draw strength from others, illuminating your path without dimming the memory of what was. Moving deeper, let's uncover pitfall 2. Making hasty financial decisions. Loss doesn't just shatter your heart, it often upends your practical world. Suddenly, you're thrust into the role of sole decision-maker for finances that were once a joint endeavor. Bank accounts, investments, insurance claims, all demand attention when your mind is fogged by sorrow. In this vulnerability, the temptation to act quickly arises. Sell the house to escape memories, cash out retirement funds for immediate relief, dive into impulsive purchases to fill the emotional void. Take Michael, a retired engineer who lost his wife to a sudden heart attack. Overwhelmed by bills and the emptiness of their shared home, he rushed to sell it within weeks, accepting a low offer to just get it over with. Only later did he realize the tax implications and the emotional cost of uprooting from a place rich with history. Regret set in, compounding his grief with financial stress. In today's economy, with rising costs and uncertain markets, such decisions can derail your stability for years. Why does this happen? Grief impairs cognitive function. Neuroscientists note that it affects the prefrontal cortex, muddling judgment and impulse control. You might seek control in chaos by making big moves, but haste often leads to mistakes. Instead, empower yourself with patience. Consult a financial advisor specializing in bereavement, like those from the Association for Financial Counseling and Planning Education. Create a grief buffer period. Commit to no major decisions for at least 6 months. List assets, review wills, and build a budget that honors your new reality without panic. Metaphorically, think of your finances as a ship in turbulent waters. Rushing to change course without charting the stars risks running aground. By steadying the helm, you ensure safe passage, allowing grief's waves to subside before navigating new horizons. This practical step not only secures your future, but reinforces your resilience, turning potential pitfalls into stepping stones. Now, as we delve further, pitfall 3, neglecting your physical health. The body and mind are inextricably linked, yet in grief, the physical self often bears the brunt of neglect. You skip meals because food tastes like ash, or binge on comfort foods to numb the ache. Exercise falls by the wayside. Why run when your heart feels heavy as lead? Sleep eludes you, nights spent tossing in a bed that's too big for one. Over time, this erosion of health becomes a vicious cycle, amplifying emotional turmoil. Reflect on Elena, a young mother widowed by a car accident. Juggling work and raising 2 children, she pushed her own needs aside. Who has time for self-care? She rationalized, surviving on coffee and takeout. Months later, exhaustion led to illness, forcing her to confront how her neglect was harming not just herself, but her family. In our fast-paced society where hustle culture glorifies burnout, This pitfall is all too relatable. Chronic stress from grief elevates cortisol, weakening immunity, and inviting ailments like hypertension or autoimmune issues. But here's the empowering pivot. Your body is the vessel carrying you through the storm. Treat it with compassion. Begin with basics. Hydrate, nourish with simple, wholesome meals. Walk in nature, letting the rhythm of steps sync with your breath, releasing endorphins that combat despair. Incorporate mindfulness practices like yoga or meditation apps such as Headspace, tailored for grievers. Schedule regular checkups. Don't dismiss symptoms as just grief. Imagine your health as the roots of a mighty oak. Neglect them, and the tree sways perilously in the wind. Nurture them, and it stands unyielding, drawing sustenance from the earth to reach for the sky. By prioritizing physical well-being, you build a foundation for emotional recovery, transforming vulnerability into vitality. As we transition toward the psychological depths, let's pause to absorb these initial pitfalls. Isolation, hasty finances, neglected health. These are the early snares that can entangle you at grief's outset. But awareness is your lantern, guiding you around them. In the stories of Sarah, Michael, and Elena, we see not just warnings, but testaments to human endurance. Each stumbled, yet each found a way to rise, weaving their losses into tapestries of strength. Grief's psychological impact is profound, a labyrinth of emotions that can ensnare the unwary. Loneliness creeps in like fog over a moor, blurring the line between solitude and desolation. Regret whispers in the quiet hours, replaying what-ifs like a broken record. What if you'd said, "I love you" one more time? What if you'd noticed the signs sooner? Anxiety surges, a tidal wave of fears about the future. Will I ever feel whole again? How will I face holidays, anniversaries, the mundane milestones alone? These aren't mere feelings. They're the brain's response to rupture. Neuroimaging reveals that grief activates the same regions as physical pain, making the ache visceral. In modern life, this is compounded by societal pressures. The expectation to move on quickly, as if loss has an expiration date. Social media amplifies it, showcasing curated happiness while your feed feels like a graveyard of memories. Yet within this turmoil lie hidden lessons. Loneliness teaches the value of self-companionship, urging you to befriend your inner voice. Regret sharpens clarity, illuminating what truly matters in life. Presence over perfection. Anxiety, when channeled, fosters wisdom, prompting proactive steps toward security. To navigate this, arm yourself with tools. Journaling becomes a confessional, pouring out thoughts to unclog the mind. Write letters to your spouse, expressing unsaid words. Burn them in ritual if it frees you. Support groups offer camaraderie, normalizing your chaos. Therapy, particularly cognitive behavioral approaches, reframes negative spirals. Think of psychology as the undercurrents beneath the surface. Ignore them and they pull you under. Understand them and they propel you forward. In embracing these impacts, you unearth inner strength, a quiet fortitude that says, "I am broken, but not beyond repair." As part one draws to a close, remember, these pitfalls are not inevitabilities, but choices we can sidestep. The journey through grief is not about erasing the pain, but integrating it into a fuller life. In the next part, we'll delve deeper into the remaining pitfalls, exploring emotional entanglements and social stumbles, all while uncovering more tools for your arsenal. The Tangled Heart, navigating emotional and social snares. Picture a vast ancient forest, its canopy so dense that sunlight barely reaches the floor. In the heart of this wilderness stands a single tree, its roots twisted and exposed, grappling with the earth as if searching for something lost. This tree is you, standing tall yet wounded, your roots entwined with memories of a love that once anchored you. Grief, like the forest, is both shelter and maze, a place to hide, but also a place where you can lose your way. As you navigate this terrain, new pitfalls emerge, not in the practical realm, but in the tangled undergrowth of your emotions and the fragile threads of your social world. These are the traps that can bind your heart, slowing your journey toward healing. But with awareness, you can learn to tread lightly, finding paths that lead to renewal. In part one, we explored the initial storms of grief, The isolation that starves connection, the hasty financial decisions that destabilize, and the neglect of physical health that weakens your foundation. Now in part two, we delve into the emotional and social pitfalls that often arise as grief evolves. Those subtle, insidious traps that can entangle you just when you think you're finding your footing. We'll uncover three more pitfalls, each with its own lessons and tools for escape, guiding you toward resilience and hope. This is a journey of the heart, where every step forward honors the love you carry while forging a new way to live it. Pitfall 4. Clinging to regret and guilt. In the quiet moments when the world slows and the weight of loss settles in, regret and guilt become unwelcome companions. They creep into your thoughts like shadows, whispering questions that haunt. What if I had been more patient? What if I'd urged them to see a doctor sooner? What if I'd said, I love you one last time? These thoughts are grief's cruelest trick, turning love into a ledger of perceived failures. In the modern world, where we're bombarded with images of perfect relationships, anniversary posts, curated memories on social media, regret can feel like a personal indictment, as if you alone fell short of an ideal. Consider James, a man in his 60s whose wife died unexpectedly during surgery. For months, he replayed their final morning together, fixating on a petty argument over misplaced keys. If only I'd hugged her instead of snapping, he told himself, the guilt gnawing at his peace. This is a universal trap. Studies in psychology, like those by researcher Thomas Addig, show that guilt is a common response to loss, rooted in our need to make sense of the uncontrollable. It's amplified by our culture's obsession with closure, as if every relationship must end with a tidy resolution. But here's the truth. Regret and guilt are not evidence of failure. They're proof of love's depth. They arise because you cared fiercely, because your bond was woven with moments both beautiful and imperfect. Clinging to these emotions, however, can anchor you in the past, preventing you from embracing the present. The path out lies in reframing these thoughts, not as verdicts, but as teachers. Start with self-compassion. Write a letter to yourself, as if from your spouse, forgiving you for the moments you regret. Imagine their voice, their love, reminding you that human imperfection was part of what made your connection real. Journaling can be a powerful tool here. Research from the University of Texas shows that expressive writing reduces emotional distress by externalizing inner turmoil. Try this exercise. List 3 moments of joy you shared, no matter how small, to counterbalance the weight of what-ifs. If guilt persists, consider therapy, such as narrative therapy, which helps reframe your story to focus on love's legacy rather than its losses. Metaphorically, think of regret as a heavy stone in your pack. Carrying it may feel like loyalty, but laying it down frees you to walk lighter. By releasing guilt, you don't erase the past. You honor it by choosing to live fully in the present, as your spouse would have wished. Pitfall 5. Suppressing emotions to stay strong. Society often praises stoicism in the face of loss. Stay strong, people say, as if tears are a sign of weakness or prolonged sadness, a failure of character. In our fast-paced world, where productivity is king, there's pressure to move on quickly, to bottle up your grief and present a brave face. But suppressing emotions is like damming a river. The pressure builds and eventually the flood breaks through, often in destructive ways. Take Aisha, a young professional who lost her husband to a chronic illness. Determined to prove she could handle it, she threw herself into work, avoiding tears and conversations about her loss. I can't fall apart, she told herself, believing strength meant silence. But months later, suppressed grief surfaced as panic attacks and burnout, forcing her to confront what she'd buried. Psychologists like Bessel van der Kolk in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, explain that unprocessed emotions manifest physically through anxiety, insomnia, even chronic pain. In grief, suppression not only delays healing, but risks your mental and physical health. The antidote is to embrace vulnerability as strength. Allow yourself to feel the full spectrum of emotions, sorrow, anger, even moments of unexpected joy, without judgment. Create a safe space for expression, cry in the shower, scream into a pillow, or dance to a song that stirs your heart. Art therapy, like painting or music, can channel emotions when words fail. Apps like Insight Timer offer guided meditations for grief, helping you sit with feelings without drowning in them. Think of your emotions as waves in the ocean of grief. Suppressing them doesn't calm the sea, it only delays the storm. By riding each wave, you learn its rhythm, gaining the courage to navigate even the roughest waters. This isn't weakness, it's the raw, beautiful power of being human. Pitfall 6. Withdrawing from social roles and identity. When a spouse dies, you lose more than a partner. You lose a shared identity. You were a team, a unit, perhaps the fun couple at gatherings or the parents who hosted holiday dinners. Suddenly, that role feels stripped away, and with it, your place in the social world. Friends may drift, unsure how to include you without your partner. Invitations to couples events taper off, leaving you feeling like a puzzle piece that no longer fits. In response, many withdraw, stepping back from social roles entirely, which deepens isolation and erodes self-worth. Reflect on David, a widower in his 40s who stopped attending his book club after his wife's passing. It felt wrong without her, he said, recalling how their shared love of literature defined their social life. But as he retreated, he lost not just the club but his sense of self as a reader, a friend, a contributor. In our interconnected yet fragmented society, where community is often built around shared activities, this pitfall is particularly insidious. Social withdrawal can lead to a loss of purpose, as research from sociologist Robert Putnam suggests, showing that disconnection from community reduces life satisfaction. To avoid this trap, reclaim your identity in small, intentional steps. Rejoin one social activity, even if it feels awkward, perhaps a hobby group or a volunteer opportunity through platforms like Volunteer Match. Redefine your role. If you were part of a couple at events, try attending as a mentor, a listener, or simply as yourself, bringing your unique perspective. Online communities like those on Reddit's Share Widowers offer low-pressure ways to reconnect, sharing stories with others who understand. Imagine your social self as a tapestry woven with threads of past and present. Losing your spouse frays some strands, but withdrawing unravels the whole. By reweaving yourself into the world, one thread, one connection at a time, you create a new pattern, vibrant with both memory and possibility. Tools for the journey, building emotional resilience. Navigating these pitfalls requires practical tools, each a lifeline to pull you through the emotional and social maze. Let's explore a few that empower you to move forward while honoring your grief. Journaling for emotional clarity. Dedicate 10 minutes daily to free write your thoughts. Don't censor. Let anger, sadness, or even humor spill onto the page. Prompt yourself with questions like, what do I miss most today? Or, what small joy surprised me? This practice, backed by studies from psychologist James Pennebaker, reduces emotional overwhelm by externalizing inner chaos. Support groups for shared healing. Join a grief support group, either in person through organizations like Compassionate Friends or online via platforms like Grief Anonymous. Hearing others' stories normalizes your experience, reminding you that you're not alone. Share when ready or simply listen. Both are acts of courage. Mindfulness for emotional presence. Use mindfulness to anchor yourself in the moment. Apps like Calm offer grief-specific meditations, guiding you to breathe through pain rather than resist it. Try a body scan. Close your eyes, focus on each part of your body, and notice sensations without judgment. This grounds you, easing anxiety's grip. Rituals to honor and release. Create personal rituals to process emotions. Light a candle each evening to reflect on a memory, or plant a tree in your spouse's name, symbolizing growth from loss. These acts, rooted in cultural traditions worldwide, provide structure to grief's chaos, fostering closure without erasure. Reclaim social spaces. Start with one social commitment, a coffee with a friend, a community event. Set a low-stakes goal. Stay for 30 minutes, then reassess. Over time, these moments rebuild your social identity, reinforcing that you belong, even in a new form. The hidden lessons of the tangled heart. Beneath these pitfalls lie profound lessons. Regret teaches you to cherish the present, to say I love you today rather than tomorrow. Suppressed emotions reveal the strength and vulnerability, showing that true courage lies in feeling deeply. Social withdrawal highlights the value of community, urging you to redefine your place in it. Together, these lessons forge emotional resilience, a quiet power that grows from facing pain head-on. Think of your heart as a garden, tangled with weeds but rich with potential. Each pitfall is a weed you can pull, revealing fertile soil beneath. By tending to it with care, through connection, expression, and courage, you cultivate a new kind of beauty, one that honors your past while blooming toward the future. As we close part 2, we stand at the edge of the forest. The path ahead clearer but still winding. The pitfalls of regret, suppression, and withdrawal are formidable, but not insurmountable. With tools in hand and lessons learned, you're ready to face the final stretch of this journey. In part 3, we'll explore the last pitfall and the spiritual awakening that awaits, guiding you toward a life where grief becomes not a burden, but a bridge to renewal. The Dawn Beyond, embracing spiritual renewal and forward motion. Envision a river, its waters turbulent and muddy after a storm, carrying debris from the banks it has carved through time. Once this river flowed in harmony with another, their currents intertwined, shaping the landscape together. Now, one stream has vanished, leaving the remaining river to find its course alone. Yet as the storm subsides, the waters clear, revealing a new path, wider, deeper, reflecting the sky above. This river is you, reshaped by loss, yet flowing toward a horizon where healing and purpose converge. Grief in its final act is not an end, but a beginning, a spiritual awakening that transforms sorrow into a sacred bridge to renewal. In parts 1 and 2, we navigated the early tempests of grief, isolation, hasty decisions, neglected health, and the tangled heart of regret, suppressed emotions, and social withdrawal. These pitfalls, while daunting, are stepping stones when met with awareness and tools. Now in part 3, we face the final pitfall and uncover the spiritual lessons that illuminate the path forward. This is the moment where grief ceases to be a weight and becomes a guide, leading you to honor love while embracing a life reimagined. Let's step into this dawn together with compassion and courage to discover the resilience that awaits. Pitfall 7, resisting the spiritual awakening of grief. Grief, at its deepest, is a spiritual journey, a confrontation with life's impermanence, meaning, and your place in the universe. Yet many resist this dimension, fearing it requires letting go of their loved one or adopting beliefs that feel foreign. In our modern world, where spirituality is often sidelined by the demands of daily life or viewed skeptically through the lens of science, it's easy to dismiss this aspect of healing. But resisting the spiritual call of grief can trap you in a cycle of despair, preventing you from finding the deeper purpose that loss can reveal. Consider Maria, a woman in her late 30s who lost her husband to a sudden illness. Raised in a secular household, she bristled at suggestions of finding meaning in her loss, viewing them as empty platitudes. "How can there be purpose in this pain?" she asked, her anger a shield against the void. For months, she avoided moments of reflection, filling her days with distractions, work, social media, anything to keep the silence at bay. But the silence persisted, whispering questions about life, love, and what comes next. It wasn't until she began exploring these questions, through quiet walks, conversations with a spiritual counselor, and tentative journaling, that she found a sense of peace not in answers, but in the act of seeking. This pitfall is common because spirituality and grief doesn't always mean religion. It's about grappling with the big questions. Why am I here? How do I carry this love forward? What does it mean to live fully in the face of loss? Resisting this exploration can leave you stuck, as psychologist Robert Niemeyer notes in his work on meaning-making, which shows that finding purpose in loss correlates with reduced depression and greater life satisfaction. In a world that prioritizes quick fixes, the slow, introspective work of spiritual healing can feel daunting, but it's where transformation takes root. To avoid this trap, embrace spirituality in a way that resonates with you. It might be through organized faith, attending a service, praying, or reading sacred texts. Or it could be secular, meditating under the stars, volunteering for a cause your spouse loved, or creating a ritual to honor their memory, like scattering their favorite flowers in a place you both cherished. Try a practice like gratitude journaling. Each day, write 3 things you're thankful for, even if it's as simple as a warm cup of tea or a kind word from a stranger. This shifts your perspective, revealing glimmers of light in the darkness. Think of spirituality as the river's reflection of the sky, a vast, ever-changing canvas that connects you to something larger. Resisting it keeps you focused on the muddy waters. Embracing it lets you see the stars. By opening to this dimension, you transform grief into a sacred space where love endures and new purpose emerges. The hidden lessons: clarity, wisdom, and inner strength. Grief, when fully engaged, is a teacher of profound truths. It strips away the superficial, revealing what matters most. The final lessons of loss are not about erasing pain, but integrating it into a life of greater clarity, wisdom, and inner strength. Clarity: loss sharpens your focus, like a lens clearing after rain. It teaches you to prioritize relationships, presence, and authenticity over trivial pursuits. You may find yourself drawn to simpler joys, a walk in nature, a heartfelt conversation, because grief reveals the fleeting beauty of each moment. Wisdom: grief imparts a hard-won understanding of life's fragility and resilience. It teaches you to forgive yourself, your spouse, the world, for its imperfections. This wisdom becomes a compass, guiding you through future challenges with grace. Inner strength: beneath the pain lies a well of fortitude you may not have known you possessed. Each time you face a wave of grief and keep going, you forge resilience. This strength is not loud or boastful. It's the quiet courage to rise each morning, to choose life despite loss. These lessons are the river's gift, carved by its journey through the storm. They don't erase the pain but give it purpose, transforming your grief into a legacy of growth. Practical tools for spiritual and forward-looking healing. To navigate the final pitfall and embrace these lessons, equip yourself with tools that foster spiritual renewal and forward motion. These practices are anchors, grounding you as you step into the dawn. Reflective journaling for meaning. Dedicate time to explore the big questions. Write prompts like, "What did my spouse teach me about love?" Or, "How can I honor their legacy in my daily life?" This practice, supported by research in positive psychology, helps you construct a narrative of purpose. Rituals of connection. Create rituals that bridge past and future. Light a candle on significant dates, speak your spouse's name in gratitude, or dedicate a small act, like planting a garden or donating to a cause, in their memory. These acts weave their presence into your new life. Mindfulness and meditation. Use guided meditations, such as those on apps like 10% Happier, to cultivate peace. Try a loving kindness meditation, sending compassion to yourself, your spouse, and others. This fosters a sense of connection to the broader human experience. Community engagement. Reconnect with or discover a community that aligns with your values, whether a faith group, a volunteer organization, or a hobby club. Shared purpose reinforces your sense of belonging and meaning. Small steps toward new goals. Set one achievable goal that excites you, like learning a new skill, traveling to a place you've dreamed of, or starting a project your spouse would have cheered for. Break it into tiny steps. Grief thrives on small victories. The call to move forward. Honoring love through living. As we stand at the river's edge, the final call of this journey is clear. Grief is not the end of love, but its evolution. To honor your spouse is to live fully, not in spite of their absence, but because of their presence in your heart. This means laughing again, not as a betrayal, but as a celebration of the joy they brought you. It means taking risks, not to forget them, but to carry their courage into new adventures. It means loving again, whether through friendships, family, or even new romance, because love is infinite and your capacity for it grows with every tear shed. Imagine the river now, its waters calm, reflecting a sky painted with dawn's colors. You are no longer just the river. You are the sky, the banks, the journey itself. The pitfalls: isolation, hasty decisions, neglected health, regret, suppressed emotions, social withdrawal, and resistance to spiritual growth, are no longer traps but markers of how far you've come. Each lesson, each tool, has built a bridge from loss to life, from sorrow to strength. This is your invitation. Step forward. Carry your love as a lantern, not a chain. Let it light your path as you rebuild, not to replace what was, but to create what can be. Your spouse's love lives in you, in every choice to heal, to connect, to grow. The dawn is here, and it is yours to embrace.